On, tells me that I'm recording. Okay, so one of the things that, so hi, my name is Ben Finklea. I am the CEO of a company called Volacci. I'm also the maintainer of a module on D.O called the Drupal SEO checklist module. And the SEO checklist module, it basically goes through, I'm going to show it to you in just a few minutes, but what I've done over the last few months is I've written a book about Drupal 8 SEO that goes along with the SEO checklist module, and I'm offering anybody who has attended this session today a free copy of the book as soon as it's available. So there's a URL there. If you'll go fill out that form, then you'll get an email probably within the next 2 or 3 weeks with a review copy of the book attached, and then you'll have those can be your class notes for today, because everything I talk about today is going to be covered in the book. And so fill that form out sometime. I'm going to leave it up on the screen. Sometime today, fill that form out. And if you're listening to this on the recording, this does not apply to you. You must be present to win. All right. So so what I'm going to do really quick is I'm going to go through a number of different modules and configurations in Drupal 8. How many of you are using Drupal 8 today? Okay, about half, which is great. So the first thing that I'm going to do, and the site that I'm using right now, it's running off my local machine. It's just a local dev environment. I've spun up Drupal 8. I use Composer to install a bunch of modules. My Composer file, actually, if you want to see it, if you're into that kind of thing, looks like that. So what you're seeing here these are all of the different modules that I told Composer to install. If you don't know what Composer is, it's relatively new in the Drupal space. It's a PHP package controller, and then what's cool about it is that it maintains this text file of all the stuff that you've installed using Composer. And so it makes it really, really easy then to take this file and take it to a different environment and run Composer update, and it'll go and grab all the updates to all of those modules and even update Drupal, and very quickly you can get up to speed in a different environment. In fact, right before about 2 hours ago, I ran Composer update on this dev environment, and it updated probably half a dozen of the modules. And I tried to test them. I didn't get a chance to test them all before I'm standing in front of you today. So if we get to a module that's not working, just understand that a lot of these are beta. One or two of them are dev, and there's some, as you can see, there's some alpha modules and stuff in there. So just right now, as the modules come online for SEO for Drupal 8, it's still a little bit of the Wild West. So just be aware of that. Make sure you always install on a dev environment. But in any case, the first thing that I'm going to do when I approach doing SEO on a Drupal 8 website is I'm going to install the SEO checklist module for Drupal 8. This module is not currently available on D.O yet. It will be in the next few weeks. As I said, I wrote the book, I created the module at the same time. I'm gonna release them both at the same time. So here in the next few weeks, it'll go up on D.O. What the SEO checklist module actually gives you is it's kind of a report, but it's basically a checklist, and you get this great these categories of SEO that need to get done on your site. And so there's some pre-release stuff, and then you start to go through here, and here's just a step-by-step list of everything that you need to do. If you're using Drupal 7 or Drupal 6, go to D.O and look for the SEO checklist, and that you can download the module. We've been producing that module, I think maybe even all the way back to Drupal 5, but I'm not sure. And so then we're gonna run through a bunch of these modules and kind of show you how it works. Now, SEO as a concept is nothing more than making sure that your content is as well represented as it can be in the search engines. And that's because you're trying to get your really well-written, well-created content in front of your target audience. It's not about spoofing anybody or gaming the system or tricking anybody. It's just making sure that your content, as good as it can be, is getting in front of the people that you're trying to reach. And so a lot of the things that I'm showing you are things that we're doing to make sure that our content is crawled properly, that it is, it is tagged properly. But one of the things that I do first on any site is I make it as easy for me to use that Drupal site as I possibly can. So the first thing that I do is I install the coffee module. How many of you guys have used the coffee? Even heard of the coffee module? Yes, awesome. Nobody. So the coffee module, and like I said, I've already downloaded a lot of these, so I'm just going to go to the extend page. And so one thing to notice is in the SEO checklist, it gives you these links to go to these different pages. And let me refresh that because I did a fresh install. There we go. So there's the coffee module. And so coffee is like this little block that pops up on your screen and it helps you navigate around. So I'm going to turn it on and I'll show you exactly what I mean. So say you want to go to the performance admin screen in your site. You just hit Option D on the Mac or Control D on a PC and you type in PER and then you hit enter and it takes you to the performance page. Is that helpful? Is that fast? All right, session's over. So this is one of my absolute favorite. I use this tool called Alfred, which is on my Mac, and I can do things like, eject all my disks at once, with 3 keystrokes, and all my disks get ejected, or all kinds of different tools and stuff. Or you just search, or even Google stuff on my Mac. But then when I found that there was a similar concept in Drupal, I was like, oh, hair on fire! I gotta have that. So I'm going to use this coffee tool all throughout the presentation. Now you're going to see that little thing pop up again and again. So that's the first thing that I install. The second thing I install, and again it's a navigation tool, is the admin toolbar, and it's another tool to help me get around. You guys using the admin toolbar? Okay, good. Yeah, it's the single most popular installed module for Drupal 8 right now. Right, I'm sure that'll change in the future, but right now it's the most popular one. So we're going to go back here, and again I'll use to get to the extend page, and then we're going to go to the toolbar, admin toolbar. There it is, and we're going to install it. You guys know about this little type ahead thing on the module page now? You seen that? Most people have seen that. It's pretty cool. So this is called module filter. It was an add-on module for forever, and then Drupal 8 came out and they had built it into core, which is phenomenal. So that's my better side's over here. You guys can from this up my left. Okay. Dang. All right. So you can just use this thing. You type in the name of the module and it pops right up. So it's really fast and really easy. So now that I've got those turned on, I'm going to refresh my SEO checklist. And you'll see that what it does is it automatically detects that I've installed these modules, and so it checked them off for me. But I'm going to encourage you to go ahead and hit the Save button because it does one more thing, which is put a time and date stamp and also the name of the current user on that item, so that you have a log now of when this work was completed and who completed it. So we can configure the coffee module. The SEO checklist gives me a nice configure link here. And so I can go in here and say, it's got all my administration links, but I also want it to have my development tools and my main navigation because, just cause. And so you can click save, and now all those will be included in the coffee interface. So the admin toolbar gives me this little drag down and drag out kind of situation, so that's really great. That's what that did. And then of course Composer, Drupal console, Drush. Anybody using one of those 3 command line interfaces? Lots of people. Okay, good. So here's one more thing that we've added to the SEO checklist. If you tick that one box, and I do have actually all 3 of these installed. And we configured that module. So we're finished with this tab. I'm going to click Save. And here's what that did. That very last one here, it goes through and it puts the command lines that I need to install and enable these modules. So very quickly I can just copy, go to my terminal, and hit paste, and then Composer or Drush or whatever will do its thing. And without even having to type anything in, I've now installed and enabled my module. Okay, clean URLs. Drupal 8 is already out of the box. It's got clean URLs. You can't turn them off. Clean URLs is like if you have a like a query string, which is like question. Used to be question mark q equals, and then off to the races, right? It could be anything after that, right? So that's a query string. You don't want to have those. If you're seeing those on your site, then you need to get with your hosting company or your developer, and you need to fix those. So this is just a reminder to double check and make sure that you're not seeing any of those. But the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to install the Path Auto module. Now, I am going to do a show of hands. If there's anything that I'm showing you here that everybody in the room already knows and it's going to bore you, then I'm going to skip it. But if one person doesn't understand the Path Auto module, then I'm going to do it. Okay, so raise your hand if you want me to go ahead and cover the Path Auto module and what it does. One guy. Great. Perfect. Rest of you, bear with. All right, so we're going to go through, and there's the Path Auto module. We've already downloaded it. We're just going to install it real quick. Notice that the link there, it takes me right to where I need to be to turn it on. Quick, I believe in fast. It enables chaos tools and tokens. All right, Path Auto is this great tool. What it actually does is it automatically generates the URLs for all the nodes of my site. Okay, so I'm going to go to URL alias, and then I'm going to go to patterns. And Path Auto gives me patterns and bulk generate, delete aliases. It might even give me settings. Yeah, it gives me settings. All I'm going to show you today is patterns because it's the meat of what Path Auto does. So I'm going to say add Path Auto pattern. And then we're going to add a pattern for our content. We'll start there. And we're going to say, well, what do we want the URL to be for all of our articles? Now, most sites, they generate lots of blog posts. They generate a few articles and several handfuls of basic pages, right? And every site's different, of course. You can have an event site, or you can have a product site that has a completely different setup. But that's a pattern that I see a lot. So we're going to go in here, and we're going to, on path patterns, we're going to go, okay, what is the path pattern that we want for our content? We're going to say, we're going to browse the available tokens. We're going to go to nodes, and we're going to use the node title. And so what this is going to do is it's going to take whatever we've named the node, it's going to take out the spaces, replace them with dashes, and take out apostrophes and quotes and anything else that's going to mess up the URL, and then it's going to, whatever's left, that's what the URL is going to be. And then we're going to say, let's do this, just so I can show it to you. We're going to do this for articles only. So I'm just going to, as a label, I'm just going to say articles. The label is essentially meaningless. It's just for you to keep track of it, and I'm going to click save. Now we've created a pattern that whenever an article gets created, it's going to follow that pattern. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the Devel Generate module. You guys familiar with Devel Generate? Great. So what Devel Generate does for us is it's going to create a whole bunch of nodes just with just some dummy text in there. It's just a fast way to get some content onto the page. So there's Devel Generate. And I'm going to create some articles, and I'm going to create some basic pages, and we don't need that many. Let's do 20, and it'll create probably 10 of each, and then I'm going to say generate. So now it's generated those notes, and we have something to play with. But let me go in here and show you. Watch so on an article, what would you expect the URL to be for this article? For this one. Aliquem iligo tamen, right? I'm expecting something to appear right here next to me after saying that. But that's what we would expect it to be. And as you can see as we hover, here I'll go ahead and open it up in another page. You can see that sure enough, the URL is, or the path is exactly the name set into lowercase. The space is taken out, but it tracks right along with it. So that's what Path Auto does. Now you can do this, and I'm going to go and I'm going to show you a basic page because that's what it would normally look like. Is this node/9? what does node/9 tell Google or a visitor about my content? Probably tells them we're using Drupal. That's about it. If they know what node means, right, in the Drupal context. So this is definitely something that's going to help our SEO a tremendous amount by having a really well-formed path. Next to the title tag, the path is really, really important for your SEO. So anyway, that's what the Path Auto module does. So I'm going to jump back over to the SEO checklist. I'm going to go, we're on this tab, and it checked it off for me. We did clean URLs, we configured it, we created a pattern, and we're on to the next thing. So I'm going to click save, and again, we'll come back here and we'll see all this stuff is saved off. And it's time and date stamped them, so we're good to go. All right, redirect module. The redirect module, it solves problems like if on this piece of content here, look, when I hover and it says node 8, well, I can actually go to node 8 and it still will give me the content. So what does this mean? I now have two different URLs that give me the exact same content. Anybody know what that's called in the world of SEO? Duplicate content. Bad, right, it's called bad. Duplicate content. If you have created a bunch of, even if it's not just the node alias, if you created a bunch of different aliases for your content, all those aliases work unless you have the redirect module installed, right? And so what we're going to do is we're going to install the redirect module, turn that on, and then we're going to go, wasn't this one, but we're going to go hit that again, and we're going to go to node/8, node/8, and you'll notice it redirected me now to the proper path. So that's the redirect module. Really, really important, saves you a lot of headaches and a lot of links to bad URLs that you don't really want links to. All right, so we've done the redirect. I can go ahead and check it myself since I know I did it. We configured it. There's really not a lot of There's a little bit of configuration, but not a ton of configuration for the redirect module. Most of it is actually in the Path Auto, how it responds. But I won't get into that. We could spend a lot of time on it. I'm not going to get into it right now. All right, Metatag module. Have you guys played around with the Metatag module before? Good. I need one person to say, yes, please show me the Metatag module, Ben. Okay, good. All right, awesome. Okay. So we're going to go here. We're going to go turn on the Metatag module. Now, the Metatag module, there's a way that you can mark up your content in the header, in the HTML header, so your users don't see it, but it's called meta tags. And meta tags can do things like tell Google like the title tag, although that's not technically a meta tag, it is handled by the Metatag module. It can tell Google information about when that content was published, who published it. It can tell Facebook similar things. What's the main image for this content? What's all kinds of stuff that meta tags can communicate to the search engines and social sites about your content. So we're going to go turn this on. Open Graph is Facebook's standard for meta tags. We're going to turn on Twitter cards just because, and we'll go ahead and turn on verification. And then I don't know about you guys, but when I work on meta tags on a client site, it's a heavy day, right? I mean, it takes a lot of focus and effort and concentration to understand their business and what are the right meta tags for them. And so what I did years ago was I wrote down here's what the settings ought to be for the meta tag module, and then I've kind of maintained that, and I've never given it away before. Well, never given that information away before, but when you receive that book on page 72, there it starts the meta tag section, and it has all of the meta tag settings that I currently use as a standard for my clients. Now, every client website's different. Your website's going to be different, but it's all here in the book. So I'm going to do a couple of them just to show you how to do it. I'm going to do 3 out of probably 60 meta tags that I would normally set on a site, okay? But the way the Metatag module works is it's hierarchical, which means that you have a global settings, and that's what Drupal will default to, is the global settings, unless you set something on, say, the front page to be different, and then Drupal will take whatever the lowest setting is. If it's down here on a node or something and there's nothing set, it'll work its way back up until it finds something that's been set for that particular meta tag. And if there's nothing set for the whole site, it'll just leave it blank. So I'm just going to do global. We're going to click edit, and site name's pretty good. Current page, title, and then the name of the site. This is pretty okay as a generic title tag. I wouldn't really use that on content. It just kind of depends. But so the page title, the description. Actually, I'm on the wrong page. Here we go. So we're going to skip most of these, and we're going to go right to the canonical URLs. It's going to be under advanced, and we're going to go to canonical URL. So the canonical URL, you guys familiar with canonical tag, what that is? It tells, so if there is content in more than one place on your site, you can set a canonical tag, which will tell Google where the master copy of this content exists. So this is really where it is. But we do want to keep this product in these 3 categories, but this one in this category is the real product, right? So that's kind of what canonical does. Now, the reason that you'd set a meta tag in canonical is because if you do have multiple copies, or like when I showed you Node 8 would redirect, you could set a canonical here, and even if somehow it was turned off, it doesn't redirect, the canonical tag will be on there. So I'm going to go ahead and set the canonical tag here to be and I've got it all typed out already, but it's the current page URL absolute. And this is what tells it that proper full URL. And then we can go down and I'll set one more just because it's very time consuming and it's all pretty well documented here. So the short link URL is another one. This is one where, like if you use a shortening service like Bud URL or Tiny URL or one of those, then it like redirects to a full URL. We've all clicked on those on Twitter and whatnot. But Drupal kind of has its own URL shortening built in, and it's just going to be the short link URL, which is the current page URL unaliased, which is that like node/8, right? Now, in case you think, oh man, I have to remember all these, you can actually use the token browser, and you can go here and you can say, okay, current page, open that up, and you can go to the URLs, and there's all different versions of the URL, and you can grab the one that you want to use. All right? So I'm going to save that, and then we're going to go look at the home page of the site real quick and show you. And actually, it probably should work on any page. So there's the canonical and the short link. And did it do the title? So it did do the title as well. Now, after I've set these for my global, I then want to drill down and I want to do a separate, more specific for my front page and more specific for each of my content types, even my taxonomy terms. I want to set my meta tags. I'm going to go through all of these. But for time's sake, I'm not going to do that today. So anyway, that's meta tag. So we've installed it, we set the meta tags. The alternate hreflang module, there's nothing to show really, so I'm going to skip it, but it adds this special meta tag called an alternate hreflang, and it's important for multilingual sites. I'll leave it at that. Okay. The XML sitemap, I've actually had a lot of trouble with the XML sitemap. It is in an alpha state. I tried the dev version today. I can't get it to generate a sitemap for me. So as things go in the Drupal world, I looked around a little bit, and there's another XML sitemap module that works for Drupal 8 called the simple XML sitemap. So instead of doing the XML sitemap, I installed the simple XML sitemap, and we're going to go with that today. Like I said, it's still kind of the Wild West out there as far as getting modules ready. So we're going to go to the modules configuration page. And I have not used this module much, just a little bit today. I have generated some content, and I remember now that I have to go over actually to the content types, which is structure, content types. I'm going to go edit that content type, simple, and say index it, and then I'm going to say, you know what, let's bump that up in priority, and then this just basically when I hit save, it's going to regenerate the XML sitemap. So I'm going to click save, and now I've got a new XML sitemap. This is really quick and dirty. It doesn't look pretty, but this reads very beautifully to Google and the other search engines. Okay, so this is the XML sitemap. We've generated it. We could go back through and configure it more, add more of the entity types, and add blog posts and things to it. But this is what it's going to do, is generate this. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to take this and you'll go to Google Search Console and you'll register your site, and then you'll submit this XML sitemap. This is great for large sites, but I do it for every site just in case. Google is going to allocate a certain amount of processor time and energy to crawling your site. If you have a really big site, there are chances that they may not spend enough time on your site to get every single page, follow every single link. So getting an XML sitemap submitted to them is, I think, critical to making sure that they're crawling every single one of your pages. If you have like a massive manufacturer's database of products that you're selling with, 500,000 products all on your site, it is an absolute necessity. I've seen traffic double and triple on big sites just by putting an XML sitemap in place. So I think it's critical for all sites, but especially the bigger your site is, the more important it becomes. Okay, we didn't actually do a lot of those. I would walk you through setting up cron, but there's a lot of documentation about doing that. Setting up a Google account, Search Console, submitting your XML sitemap to Google. You're going to do the same with Microsoft. It's the exact same XML sitemap. But then one of the things that you want to do is you want to add the XML sitemap to your robots.txt file. So I'm actually already, I think, FTP'd in here. And there's this file at the root level of Drupal called the robots.txt file. I'm just going to edit it here in my FTP program. Thank you. And I'm just going to put the full URL of my sitemap, which I already closed. So let me go do this again. Sitemap. So that's it for me. Now this is just a dev site, so of course it doesn't really matter. But you put the full URL into your robots.txt file. Now, you've already submitted it to Google. You've already submitted it to Bing. Why would you put it in your robots.txt file? Because there's lots of other crawlers out there. That's right. So this is a standard way of communicating the location of your XML sitemap to any crawler that comes to your site. You put it in the robots.txt file. Okay? So save that off, and now they know where to go to find your XML sitemap. All right, we're plugging along. Analytics, have you guys used Google Analytics? Anybody use Google Analytics? Okay, great. Are you using the Google Analytics module for Drupal when you install it? No? Putting it in a block or something like that? Or WordPress. Say it again? I put it in WordPress. Oh, you put it in WordPress. That's not going to help you in your Drupal site, sir. So let me show you. In that case, there is, I think, some advantages to the way that Drupal implements the Google Analytics module. I've also done a little bit of stuff in WordPress, so I'm a little bit familiar. We're going to turn on the Google Analytics module. And what this does for you is it just gives you a field to put in your UA number, which is your Google Analytics number, and that's it. You're done, right? There's no block that you need to put in place or anything like that. You just you go to log into Google Analytics, you grab that number. I think I've got one already kind of like in here, so you can paste in your number, you click save, and then the module automatically puts it on every page of your site. Now, that's its most basic way that you can install and configure it. What I think Drupal does, that's I think maybe a little bit better than the way that other platforms do it, is it actually gives you a lot of control over where that code is going to be displayed. For example, I'm the SEO guy for the site, or I'm the admin of the site. Do I really want all of my clicks and all the work that I'm doing to show up in my client's Google Analytics? No, that's ridiculous. That would skew everything. So I can go here and I can say only track anonymous visitors. And if my site is a brochure site for a company, that's what it's going to be. All their customers are coming in as anonymous visitors. So now my Google Analytics will only show up for anonymous visitors. I can click save. Drupal also does one other thing that's pretty cool. I'm showing this to you, but first, what you should do is you should wait and make sure that Google Analytics is tracking. So make sure that there's data showing up in Google Analytics. So give it 24 hours and then go check and make sure there's data there. And if there is and everything's looking good, working great, then come here and click this little box that says locally cached tracking code file. And what that does is normally what happens is when very page view that somebody visits, that person will do a round trip to Google to grab this JavaScript file, which very slightly slows down every page load. What this does is it caches that JavaScript file in your Drupal payload, which means it gets all delivered to the browser at the same time, which saves a little bit of time. Okay, so you're going to do that. You're going to save. So that's two little functions. I'm not even hitting 3/4 of the different settings and stuff here for the Google Analytics module, but those two things alone are phenomenal. Okay. I would be remiss at this point if I didn't say that there's also the Google Tag Manager. And Google Tag Manager, especially for larger or more complex websites, is a better way of installing Google Analytics, and you would not use Drupal's Google Analytics module. It is more granular. You can put it more places. It tracks things better. It'll track things like how far down the page did somebody scroll, or how much of this video did they watch, and things like that. So it's a more advanced tracker, and you install that with Google Tag Manager. We have a blog post on Volacci.com that you can find that'll walk you through how to do it on Drupal 7. Haven't updated it for 8 yet, but for basic, straightforward sites, I think this module does a bang-up job. Okay. So we have, on the analytics side, we've installed the module, we've configured it. Let's just pretend we've verified it, cached it. There's another module called Piwik Web Analytics. I've not used it myself, but I've heard really good things from other people. It's an open source version of Google Analytics that you can configure do a lot of configurations to make it work exactly how you want it to. Okay. I'm down to about 12 minutes, so I'm going to show you maybe a couple of more modules, and then I'm going to open it up for questions, and if there are no questions, I'll show you more modules. Sound good? Okay. So I think I'm going to show you the skip to page optimization, because this one is particularly cool. Have you guys used the Yoast module before? You've used Yoast before. He's like, Yoast? I know this. I'm out of here. So Yoast is a module that started out as a WordPress extension plugin, and it does some pretty cool stuff. Once you turn Yoast on and you go start looking at your content, you'll notice that it adds, since we've been working on this one in particular, it adds a couple things to the edit interface. So it gives you kind of this little area right here, and you can go in here and you can say, you know what, my primary keyword is where'd it go? L-E-T-A-L-I-S. That's the primary keyword for this page. And when you save that and you come back in here, it actually has very quickly scored your page. And as you can see, it's giving me a poor score. So the page title contains the focus keyword at the beginning, which is great. No subheading tags like an H2. Oh, well, that's bad. So I would go in here and I go, oh, well, I need an H2 that is, contains, well, that's plain text. Let's go to full HTML. Yes, be brave. And I'm just going to put this in an H2. And as I do these different things, it's going to detect that I've done them and update the score. Right? So now I've got that as an H2. Let's save and keep published. Jumps out. Sometimes when I jump back in, it doesn't update right away. But in this case, I think the focus keyword appeared in 1 out of 1 subheadings. So it updated the message, so it's a little bit confusing. But you can see there are more greens here than there were before. And then you could just go through these one at a time and make sure that you're getting your key phrase in all the different content places on your site. And then when the other cool thing that it does is when I go here to content, it actually adds this score over to my content view. So now, once you've gone through this, you've optimized your pages and stuff like that, or people are creating new blog posts on your site, you can now go to this one screen and you can go, oh man, I can see here's where we need to focus some, we need to get the intern to sit here and make sure we got keywords on our blog posts, right? That one I think is really cool. I love when other technologies start to bring some of their best practices and stuff into Drupal. We're seeing a lot of that with Symfony and Drupal 8 and stuff like that. With Yoast, it's great. Absolutely love it. All right. Turning on track changes for all content. So this is one that I think is overlooked frequently by people that are not spending all their whole day in SEO. You know what turn on track changes is, right? I'm seeing a lot of blank stares. All right, let's show you what turn on track changes is. It's absolutely one of the coolest things in Drupal, and it's been there forever. Go to content types. We're going to go into this article, and we're going to say edit, and we're going to say in publishing options, we're going to say create new revision. Now, I probably should change that checklist item to say turn on create new revision, shouldn't I? But in any case, I'm going to turn that on and I'm going to click Save Content Type. And now, whenever I go to edit an existing piece of content, there is a setting here in the, where is it? Oh, that's supposed to be checked. Did I not turn on the right one? No, this is a basic page. That's fine. I did it for articles. So let me show you on articles. There we go. Create new revision is checked. So what this does is it creates revisions. So I'm going to make just a slight change. I love the arch. Do you call it the arch?
Yep.
Okay. I love the arch. Save it and keep published. Now when I go into this one, there's this, when I go to edit it, there's this extra tab called revisions, and I can see that there's been multiple revisions. So it keeps track of every time that there's a change. Now, when I go, let's go back to the SEO checklist module, and there is this other module called the diff module. We're going to go turn on the diff module. And you guys used the diff module before? Yay! He wrote the diff module. You were very excited when the arm went up. I thought he loves the diff module. All right, so we're going to go in here and let's see. We were turn on the diff module. I'll jump over here and let me hit refresh real quick because I forgot where I was. There we go. And when I go to revisions, I now have this neat little compare button, and I can see side by side what was changed. Do you see my change? I don't see my change.
You changed it in the summary.
I did it in the summary?
Yeah.
It's because I'm an idiot. Let's try it again, because we're not tracking the summary. Oh, look, you're right, I did it in the summary. Let's take that out. All right. There we go. Now let's save it and keep published. We're going to go back into it, and we're going to go to the revisions tab. We're going to see, now it has even one more of a revision. So I could go all the way back, or I could stick with the ones that it's doing. And there it is. It shows me it added, plus means it added, minus would mean it took it away. It added I love the arch, and it added a space. Now, I know what you're thinking. Ben, this is phenomenal and really cool. What does this have to do with SEO? Now, have you ever made some changes to your site, or you were just looking in your analytics and you noticed that you suddenly started losing a whole bunch of traffic or gaining a whole bunch of traffic? And you start digging a little bit deeper into Google and you go, wow, most of my pages are about the same, but this one page just fell off the face of the planet here, and I'm losing all this traffic. Well, you know what page to go look at now with track changes and the diff module. You can go in and you can see actually the exact text that was changed on that page and revert it. Or see, wow, that really helped, and go to my other nodes and change those to do the same thing, right? So, because that's what SEO is, a lot of SEO is about experimentation. And this allows you to do more experiments more freely without worrying that you're going to mess up the site. Because when I get hired, a lot of times that's what I'm worried about, is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to start tweaking and changing things, and things are going to get worse. Well, with this put in place, and of course some good backups of the site and stuff like that, I have a lot of confidence about making changes. Okay.
So it keeps the previous page.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly it. So I can go into this node, I can go into revisions, and I can say that sucked, let's revert it. It says, are you sure? And it's going to create a new revision, but it's a copy of that old revision. So now I'm going to have 4, as you can see, I now have 4 revisions, right? So it's basically, it never changes that old revision. That old revision is there forever. It's in your database. Sometimes some database people hate it because it clutters up the database. I could care less. Get a bigger server, because I don't need to track those changes.
So this guy created it, and now it's Volacci. So this guy created it, and now it's Volacci.
No, I don't think he actually created it. No, the diff module is an add-on module. All the modules I've been showing you right here are ones that I added on. I just did it. I went ahead and downloaded them, installed them before I started, just to save time, because we'd be here all day if we waited on Composer to install modules. So I'm down to 3 minutes. I could show you one more probably. I don't know which one, but I'd pick one and show it to you. Or I'd be happy to open it up to any SEO problems that you have or questions. Or the question I get a lot is, I'm starting a new project. Is Drupal 8 ready for SEO? And I would say that at this point, if I was starting a new project, I would build it in Drupal 8. I wouldn't build it in Drupal, at least not for SEO reasons. Maybe there's other reasons to wait for you. But for SEO reasons, I would go ahead and start building in Drupal 8 now, because the modules they're pretty good. I'm probably 85 or 90% happy with where most of the modules are. I wouldn't be writing a book and releasing it and writing this new module if all my recommendations were going to crash your site, right? Be careful, but I would go ahead and start developing a Drupal 8 at this point. Yes, sir?
Do you run into any performance issues with sitemaps on very large sites?
There are some, yes. There were some pretty significant changes made to the XML sitemap module in its 2.0 release. I think it's on 4 or something now, that really improved that a lot. I have been known to use a third-party crawler and make an HTML sitemap instead of a generated one, just because we couldn't do it. But it got a lot better. The final release in Drupal, or the most recent release, I should say, in Drupal 7 seems to work well for my clients, except for 1 or 2 that I'm doing it in a third-party way. For Drupal 8, the XML sitemap for Drupal 8 I think it's not ready, which is why I'm using the simple XML sitemap, which seems to work pretty great. And once I go with something, I usually don't switch unless I have a really compelling reason to. So For now, I may just stick with a simple XML sitemap, and maybe after we get to like a full 1.0 release of the XML sitemap, I'll take another look. But Google doesn't care which module I use. They just want my data, right? So I'll use what works. But have you run into some particular issues you're trying to solve?
It's been a while since we've used the sitemap module because we had a site with 250,000 nodes, and we used so much resources during the cron run to generate the sitemap that we had to disable. It was bringing the site to its knees, so we had to disable it. But I had heard that they had fixed a lot of performance issues.
They have.
It's so long that I'm sure they fixed most of them. I just didn't know.
So for the recording, I'll just repeat a little bit of what I heard. You had 250,000 nodes and the XML sitemap, and this is quite a while ago, but the XML sitemap was really, really slow and hogging up lots of resources just to keep it up to date. They have created a new concept called a context, and you can actually create contexts that basically divvy up your site so that it's not trying to run all the sitemap for all of the content on your site at once. That might be something to look at. It just wasn't there in earlier versions. I've not had to use it, so I couldn't like walk you through it right at this point, but it should be pretty straightforward, and I'm probably the dumbest developer in the room, so I'm sure you guys can figure it out. All right, I think we're out of time, but I'll take more questions until they kick us out. Yes, sir.
Is your link up?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it got covered up. Yeah, please fill out the link there, and I'll send you a review copy of this book, which is called Drupal 8 SEO. This is my review, my final review copy. I'm working it over. The cover will probably change a little bit, maybe a lot. I don't know. But I'm going through and doing my final edits right now, and we should have it up on Amazon hopefully in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So, but fill out the form at that URL, and I will send you guys a free review copy. And if you like it, let me know. If you hate it, let me know too. Even more important. All right, I think we're done. Thanks so much. There was like